Gold and silver are fantastic to own. They are really quite beautiful and addictive, but they're not necessarily the best investments to own, to be quite frank. They are non-performing assets. They just sit there. They don't earn you dividends or interest. And at the other end, when you do look to sell them, it can be very dependent on the time frame that you've had them for. And a lot of the time, you hear these wonderful expectations and predictions for gold and silver, which, quite frankly, can be very misleading and quite dangerous. So today I want to have a little bit of a reflection on why the past cannot necessarily be used to easily predict the future for gold and silver. Hello everybody, Backyard Bullion here, and a warm welcome to you all joining me for another precious metal ramble. Now, there are not very many corners of the social media world and YouTube creators that you'll see people really kind of talking down silver and having a bit of a realistic approach to it as a commodity that you can invest in. I have been, I think, quite consistent over my tenure here on YouTube with my opinion that silver and gold, over a very long term, you'll be just fine. But if you're in it for short-term returns, it's very, very risky and you're most likely going to lose money. But that seems to be one of the most popular rhetorics, certainly out here on YouTube, that this stuff is going to make you a huge return. There's going to be 7 times, 10 times return on gold and silver. It's just a hype. It's just hysteria. It can be quite dangerous. Now, one thing that is used so often to actually demonstrate some of those points is historical data for gold and silver prices. Now, this video has been completely inspired by 2is1. I want to give full credit right now. I watched a fantastic video of his that he did the other day talking about this exact topic, about how if you cherry pick various different time frames and timelines, you will get the data that you want that will support your evidence. And that's fine, but it's important to remember the context. So I want to give full credit. His link, or the link to his channel, is down in the description box below. Go and check it out. Say hello from Backyard Bullion if you're not subscribed. He is a very down-to-earth content creator as well about gold and silver, and I think if you like my channel, you'll certainly like his as well. So go and say hello. But I do want to kind of talk a little bit about his points there and how I sort of interact with my long-term view on gold and silver, because I'm in this for the long haul. I have certain things which I will flip and I will sell on a short-term basis, but those are risky investments. Those are not precious metal stacks. Those are investing in collectibles or purchasing things to sell. The long term is where it's all at. Now, from my own experience, when I got into silver, this is exactly how I got into it, and it can be very dangerous to do so. I looked at the charts for silver. In fact, well, the very first time I kind of found silver was just through a random news article with a big strapline headline saying silver at all-time lows for the, well, not all-time, but huge lows over the last 10 years. Now is the time to buy. And at the time, I had been, Googling on different things to put money into, because I quite honestly had, certain investments in stocks and shares, and I wanted to have something a little bit different, something that I could, just get some returns on and move on from. And silver certainly seemed to be something that caught my attention after that article. And it was in 2015 where the price of silver, now this is going to be in pounds rather than dollars. I haven't looked up the dollar. I think it's probably about $12, $13 an ounce. But in the UK, it was about £10 an ounce, if not a little less. I think I remember some of the first spot prices I saw being under £10 an ounce. And you could buy from Europe for silver as well. So you could get your silver VAT free. And some of the earliest pieces that I purchased from Europe were at about £11 an ounce. Wonderful, fantastic. And you might think, brilliant, Backyard Bullion, that's great, because now silver's at £18 an ounce, and it has been as high as £22 an ounce. You could have doubled your money in a short 5-year period. Well, yes, that's one way to cherry pick the data. But as 2is1 said in his fantastic video, if you just look back just a few more years past, and you bought in 2011, where the price of silver had hit that all-time peak, you'd be in trouble. So it is about where and when you pick that data and how you look at your gold and silver. And at the time when I was purchasing my first pieces of silver, in fact, if we're going to talk about silver, let's get another silver piece out up here. I was not in it for the long haul. I was in it for a short-term profit. I wanted to hang on to that silver, and if in a year or two it was going to, the spot price was going to go up to a point where I'd earn a profit, I would sell it. And at the time, my exit strategy was to probably sell it back to a dealer all in one go, just to get rid of it, because I didn't at the time want to have the effort and the aggro and the time it takes to sell things privately on eBay. And this was well before I started making videos or started even thinking about social media as an avenue. So it was quite fascinating to see how that evolved for me and how it suddenly changed into a long-term game. And I have always been a pessimist. I've always been this kind of cup half empty guy when it comes to, these big bandied around terms of huge returns on your investment. So when I started YouTubing and started researching more about some of the things that I wanted to potentially buy, and I fell down the rabbit hole that like a lot of people do here on YouTube, always didn't sit with me. And I think that's quite interesting, because a lot of people it doesn't. You see this rabbit hole of absolute, for want of a better phrase, garbage predictions of where gold and silver will be based on chart movements and all of these charts with fancy squiggly lines on them, and all of the historic data that points to silver going to the moon, and it just doesn't sit with me. It doesn't make sense with me. How can somebody? I always thought, well, how do you know? I mean, if everybody knew, or if this was common knowledge, then surely everybody would be piling in on silver. But quite frankly, the world is not piling in on silver. So what's going on? That was my reaction was to a lot of those kind of scenarios. And then I started thinking, well, actually, do you know what? If I am going to hold this for a long term, if I'm going to accumulate some wealth over a long term, then gold is probably going to be the more sensible option. So that was where the gold started to be accumulated. And it is interesting, I think, to look back at the past and to look at where that will instill prices in the future. And now my mentality has changed somewhat from going on that short-term initial reaction of I'll just buy it at the cheap £11 an ounce that I'm getting it here, and I'll hold it until it's £14-15 an ounce. I'll sell it for a little bit of a profit and move on. Those were my first reactions. Then it was, well, I'll just hold it and I'll just see what happens in 15-20 years' time. This is a long-term saving pot of money anyway, so it's fine. I don't need the cash. If I have cashed it out, I'm going to put it into something else anyway, so it doesn't matter. And then I kind of thought, well, do you know what? Actually, this long-term approach, I think, is actually quite similar to essentially owning a property. And that's what I would say to a lot of you out there. If you are buying silver, I think you're more likely to have this silver as a kind of somewhat little bit of a hedge, somewhat of a, well, if it does go massive, if it does go parabolic, then you've got some silver. But if you are in these precious metals on any kind of scale beyond, I think, a couple of ounces of gold, if that's just your stack and it's a smaller stack than you see on YouTube here or anywhere else, it doesn't matter. I see each and every tiny little gold coin, whether it's a quarter ounce gold or an ounce gold coin, as a miniature property. And over a long-term period, you will see those gains come for this. And again, it's looking back and it's cherry-picking the data. I've read numerous articles about how gold and silver have outperformed property over a 30-year period. But of course, we're in this interesting time right now where we are seeing these highs based on geopolitical and economic events around the world. But then 30 years ago exactly, we're looking at the 1992 recession and the huge dips in markets of property and the like there. So again, it's dangerous to look back over specific time frames. Another prime example is where people look back 100 years to the gold price, back in 1912, 1920. And you see so many different photos on social media or here on YouTube where somebody's got a stack of nearly $2,000 in cash against $20 in cash from 1920. I think those are very misleading. Those are very disconnected time periods, and inflation is often bandied around as being one of the worst things. It's the enemy. It's everybody's money is devaluing over every day, every week, every month, every year, and it's seen as the real sort of enemy of our society. But actually, a lot of people forget that inflation is good. Inflation is actually what protects a lot of society, and certainly for countries which have large proportions of borrowing and national debt, inflation is the only reason that they can continue to do that. And a lot of people use the argument to say that if inflation continues to rise and interest rates go up, then you can't finance those debts. But actually inflation is really good. Governments love inflation. So it's not the enemy, and it's all about context. It's all about what is right for individual circumstances and understanding the limitations on things like this, on gold and silver, and understanding that it's not necessarily something that's going to change your life. I did a video just on that exact topic the other week. It's not going to change your life. You're not going to become a millionaire from gold and silver, but you are going to preserve that wealth over time. And that's one of the key things for me. And that's the message that 2is1 puts out on nearly every single one of his videos, whether he's talking about gold and his accumulation of gold, which he's more heavy on than silver. And I agree with him for that, because silver over a long period is going to be very volatile. And also over a long period of time, gold has always outperformed silver. But it's this hype, this hysteria, this expectation, this social media wave that has, I think, convinced a lot of people that silver is due to explode and it's undervalued and it's, something that you have to have now. If you don't have it now, you'll regret. But what I'll say is, whether it's gold or whether it's silver you're stacking over a long period, just do it what is right for you. Do it sensibly. Don't believe in the hype. Don't buy on credit. Don't buy... Well, you can buy on credit as long as you pay off your credit cards, but don't take out a loan. Don't mortgage your house to buy silver. Just be smart. Be sensible. Ask the critical questions of what... If you're reading something or watching a video, what's the motives behind it? If it's a bullion institution that's talking about the next huge spike in silver or the premiums, just remember that they're selling all that silver and gold. So it can be very, very dangerous out there. So go and check out 2is1's channel. I really would recommend it. I think he's a fantastic creator, and I know he and I see eye to eye quite a lot on a lot of the different topics that we've both covered. And I wanted to give him full credit on this because it really was quite an interesting video to talk about and to share some of my experiences as well. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please do put that thumbs up here on YouTube. It really does help. It's one of the best ways, by the way, that you can help a creator, interacting with the video, hitting the thumbs up button. It really is super helpful. And also subscribing to the channel. 76% of all of the views that I get on my channel are from people who aren't subscribed. And if you've enjoyed this video, there's a good chance you'll like the ones that we make in the future. That's it from me today. We'll see you on the next one. As always, please make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.